For years, this was a country where Jews walked the streets in fear. They hid their identity with shame. They suffered. The Tsars oppressed us. Pogroms destroyed our communities. Communism decimated Judaism. The Soviet Union was a dangerous place to have a Brit Milah, a Jewish marriage, or kosher food.
In the past, people used to hide their Jewishness. They were ashamed of it. They did everything possible. Then their documents shouldn't say the word Ivrei, Jew.
לא הייתה בחיים שלנו מילה של עברית. לא ידענו מה זה פורים או פסח. לא היה לנו ברית מילה או בר מצווה. לא היה שום זהות, שום דבר חיובי במילה יהודי. היה הרבה דברים מפחידים.
תמיד חיינו באווירה של פחד. ידענו איך היחס בחוץ. ידענו שהחוץ הוא מבהיל, הוא מפחיד ומסוכן. אנחנו היינו תחת הפיקוח של קג"ב כל הזמן.
Jews were caught and sent to Siberia, not knowing if they would ever come back. Nobody dreamt of a future for Jewish life. Only a true visionary could imagine what Russia looks like today.
לא ידענו שגם בתנאים אלה מאוד קשים היו יהודים שהצליחו לשמור על הקשר שלהם.
פותחי עיניים, אבא ושני קצינים ידו. פרס לפה והשתרב אליהם אמר ביידיש. זהו שטרק אינטירו מצווה. שתהיו חזקים ותראו המצוות. חששתי שאני מאבד את אבא. לא יהיה לי אבא.
I remember at that time when one of the people told me that we fully understand. We are here, we are stuck here. You're going to go back to the free world and you're going to forget about us. And I told him then that one thing I could promise you, I'll never forget about you people. I'll do whatever I can, even though the conditions were unbearable.
אנחנו בודדים מול אימפריה רשע, עם כל הכוח שלה. לחשוב ולהאמין שיבוא יום, ולא רק שכמה וכמה יהודים יצאו מברית המועצות, אבל שמסע הברזל ייפול, מיליונים יהודים יצאו לחופש, וברית המועצות יפסיק להתקיים, היה בלתי אפשר לתאר את דבר כזה.
Что Бог находится с каждым из них, и Он его оберегает и дает ему силу пережить все эти трудности и также передать всем детям, которые находятся там, что как закон Советской России, гарантированной Советской Конституцией, обещает и предохраняет и указывает всем властям, что отец или мать может, и никто и не смеет им мешать учить со своим сыном и со своей дочерью Тору в полной мере, включая исполнение мицвот в ежедневной жизни, и все те, которые мешают этому, или это милиционер, или высшая власть, действуют против Советской Конституции, и все те, которые говорят иначе и ведут пропаганду, так это полная ложь.
10 years later, an entire generation of committed Jews came of age. They now had options. Over 200 cities with synagogues, community centers, cultural programs, and humanitarian aid. A local population and government supporting Jewish life. The goal was to continue to invest in youth, creating clubs, organizations, and activities to foster strong Jewish leadership. "30 years ago, the investments began. The growth has been completely beyond expectations. The Russian people have proved incredibly resilient. They are ready time and again to stand up for what they believe is right. They are proud, committed Jews. Today, almost every city is bursting with Judaism. A new synagogue, a public menorah lighting. Russia has completely transformed. The Iron Curtain, pogroms, communism, all are a distant memory for thousands of young Jews in Russia. Today, Jews are safe. Today, Jews are happy. Today, Jews are proud.
Think of this young child, a young Jewish boy or a young Jewish girl who has amazing talents, amazing capabilities, but is not connected to anything Jewish. Our job is actually to find him and give him an opportunity, give him everything possible, that his Jewishness, his heart, his soul should be connected, and he tomorrow will become an amazing Jewish leader. He's going to be involved in business, in community activities, doesn't make a difference. But our goal is actually to think what will happen to him if we find him, connect him, help him, and he understands that today the Jewish community is there, open for him. Or, God forbid, we're going to lose him because of the history of Russian Jewry. We have an amazing future ahead of us, but it depends on us to make sure that this is going to reach every single Jew.
30 years later, the infrastructure is all there. But there are still hundreds of thousands of Jews who are completely assimilated. Who will bring back every last Jew?
Ladies and gentlemen, the miracle of virtuality, if you don't recognize what's behind me, it is not Aladdin. This is a picture of Russia, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to A View from Moscow, a program designed for us to understand the 19th day of Kislev, as well as Hanukkah, and we hope to hear from Rabbi Berel Lazar shortly. We're going to ask Rabbi Kosofsky, Rabbi Noach Kosofsky, Rabbi Chaim Kosofsky, and as well as Chaim. You remember who we're going to be introducing everybody. Where are you, Chaim? Are you ready to introduce Rabbi Lazar? Thank you. Take it away.
So this is actually Rabbi Noach Kosofsky. I'm speaking to my former camper, Akiva Balter. Nice to see you again. Just wanted to tell everyone that it's a great privilege and an honor that we have Rabbi Berel Lazar speaking to us exclusively from Russia to our community in honor of Yutes Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, the day of the freedom of the first Lubavitch Rebbe, Rabbi Shner Zalman. I also want to say hello to the crowd that's here in our school, in our auditorium, and also a thank you to our community for the great success that we had with our crowdfunding campaign last week, where we raised $250,000 in just 36 hours. It was a great feat, and it shows the support of our community and how our community appreciates all the many activities and this education that take place here at LYA. So at this point, I'd like to call upon Susan Goldman. She's a past president of our Jewish Federation of Western Massachusetts. She has visited the former Soviet Union. She has met with Rabbi Lazar, and I'll let her tell the rest. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Rabbi Kosofsky. It's my honor to introduce Rabbi Lazar this afternoon. Several years ago, prior to pandemic, my husband Mark and I were privileged to meet Rabbi Lazar and be the recipients of his warm hospitality, and I must say, delicious pastries in his office in Moscow. As a community leader and past Federation president and current vice president of the JCC, I'm engaged with many of our Jewish community organizations. And this trip to Russia was a small leadership group of World Ort, of which I'm a national board member. Ort, a federation partner, is a global education network driven by Jewish values and innovation, which provides increased access to high quality education, leading to professional success and economic dependence. Our trip to Russia, of course, entailed visiting Ort schools and other programs, but significantly, we had the privilege of interacting with Chabad, its synagogues, schools, and most powerfully, the opportunity to meet and discuss contemporary Russia with Rabbi. Rabbi Lazar is impressive in his wealth of knowledge, his charismatic leadership of the Chabad community, and his collaborative work with other Jewish organizations working tirelessly to create a vibrant Jewish communal life for those who have remained for the many decades of war and repression, as well as those families who are reclaiming their Jewish identity after years of living in a fearful underground. Each day in Russia and the FSU, through the prominence of our Jewish schools, more and more children are entering and evolving as scholars and prominent community leaders. Additionally, they become part of a warm and cohesive network, which provides kindergartens, care for the elderly, significant religious inspiration, holiday celebrations, and much, much more. Most impactful in our visit was to experience the interface of organizational life, not so different from our lives in Longmeadow. Ort and Chabad work together to provide STEM classes for students, which are cited at the JCC, which are supported by our other federation partner, JDC, the Joint Distribution Committee. Thank you, Rabbi Lazar, for the expansive work you do every single day, and for your role in creating a rich and vibrant Russian Jewish community. We welcome you, albeit virtually, to our Springfield Longmeadow community. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you, Susan.
Good afternoon. I hope you hear me.
Yes, thank you, Rabbi Lazar. I'm going to introduce you. Thanks for joining. I first met Rabbi Berel Lazar when he arrived to Yeshivah High School in New York from Milan, Italy. We soon became friends and remained close through our years in Yeshiva until we married and moved away to work as Shluchim of the Lubavitch Rebbe. My wife and our infant son, Yechiel, and I attended his wedding in Pittsburgh. When Rabbi Lazar moved to Moscow 30 years ago, there was no Jewish infrastructure. Everyday life was difficult. Imagine disruptions in the supply chain to a magnitude of 10, affecting every area of life. 2 years ago, when his daughter married Mendel Wilansky of Portland, Maine, Ruvain Buckberg and I attended the wedding in Moscow. We saw a Jewish community full of life and energy. Rabbi Lazar had everything prepared for the 100 guests or more from out of the country, most of whom could not find their way in a strange country. He and his wife were extremely gracious hosts. I did notice in the lobby of his shul a wall with pictures of buildings around Moscow, schools, yeshivas, girls' schools, seminaries, social service organizations, soup kitchens, synagogues, about, I think I counted 36. And I made a comment that there are probably more that don't fit on the wall, and Rabbi Lazar gave his unique smile. Rabbi Lazar has ties to Western Mass. Rabbi Shlomo Yaffe is his first cousin. And some of you may remember Mrs. Vivi Darren, who is the sister of Rabbi Lazar's wife. And now I will let Rabbi Lazar tell you about the miraculous revival of Jewish life in Russia.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you, Rabbi Kosofsky, for the amazing introduction. Maybe I'll start believing you one day, and I'm going to get actually excited about what's going on here. So things are good in Moscow. I don't think as good as Rabbi Kosofsky just made it sound, but the best way to find out if he's right or wrong, I think if you should come visit and to see it with your own eyes, as they say. Anyways, let me tell you, I'll go back a little in history. I'll tell you how I first came to Russia, what I saw at that time, and what happened from then till today. It's almost 35 years from the first day I came to Moscow. And of course, things have changed. So let me start from the beginning. I was actually born in Italy, Milan. And interesting enough, in the community there were some Russian Jews that were able to leave Russia after Second World War. And they always used to talk about life in Russia and how it used to be, how difficult it was, and the heroism of the Jews there keeping Yiddishkeit alive. And it always sort of, was something exciting to think about what really happens behind the Iron Curtain, what is the situation for the Jews there. And I always had this dream, maybe one day I'll end up visiting this country, visiting these Jews. I even remember going to the central station in Milan and seeing the train leaving to Moscow and thinking maybe I'll just hop on the train and probably a few days later I'll be in Moscow. But of course, it never happened. Years later, when I actually came to New York to learn, actually learning the same Yeshivah with Rabbi Kosofsky, we started seeing Russian Jews that had left Russia in the beginning of the 80s, middle of the 80s, end of the 80s, coming to visit the Lubavitch Rabbi. And seeing these Jews made an incredible impression on me because I saw Jews who were strong in their faith, not ready to give up on anything, telling stories of really incredible heroism to keep connected to the Jewish people, notwithstanding all the hardships that were going on in those days in the Soviet Union. And one day my dream actually came true and I was offered to go visit Russia. This was at the end of 87, which is exactly 34 years ago. And I landed in Moscow. Of course, I didn't know what to expect. I had some information, I had seen pictures of people, had some phone numbers, but I wasn't ready to, react to what I actually saw. Of course, the first welcome was in the airport, dim, dark, gray, with all these officers looking at me and then stopping me and practically going through every item that we had in our suitcase, whether it was Jewish books, kosher food, a knife for shchita, or tzedakah pushka, anything we had, that hundreds of questions. Why do I need it? Am I sure that it's only for my personal use? Am I sure that I'm not going to give it away? And they made me write up a list of exactly what I brought in. And they told me that if it's going to be one item missing on the way out, they won't let me out of the Soviet Union. So this was the first welcome. Of course, I got a little scared. And finally, I made it into town and I tried to go visit a chassid, which was actually let's say the central point who people connected with. His name was Reb Getche. He was the elder chassid. He had learned in Lubavitch. And when I met him, this was like, I would say, a completely eye-opener for me to see people that have been completely disconnected from any Jewish community, and they became heroes. He specifically, he was completely devoted to other people. And when I realized that if he wanted to keep his own Judaism in his home, nobody would have bothered him. But his whole life was dedicated to help others connect with our history, our roots, our tradition, our culture. He was an elderly man, but didn't stop for a second trying to help others, and did make a difference. Material help, spiritual help, moral help, support, money, food, anything. He was if a young Shliach that went to know somewhere in the world, really caring for every single Jew, and for it risking his life and his family's well-being. Eventually, I started meeting other people, and I actually saw that he's not unique. There are many other people in the underground, Hasidim, refuseniks, who so much cared about their connection to the Jewish people and about helping somebody else that their own life really didn't matter. Just to give you some examples, there was one person that used to sit at home at night and take pictures of books, develop them, and these were the textbooks that people used. So people actually used black and white developed pictures in this person's home. Of course, this was against the law. You weren't allowed to have a copy machine, you weren't allowed to have a printer, and you can't print books that weren't even allowed into Russia. But he sat in his home every single night, taking these pictures and developing them and giving them out, spreading it out throughout the whole former Soviet Union. Another person was in charge of circumcisions. So this was also taking a huge risk, helping people go through a bris milah. Somebody else was in charge of all the synagogues, somebody else of all the mikvot. And that was also taking a huge risk because it was against the law. Just to give you a small idea, there's this famous story in 87 actually. One time the Rabbi sent a special emissary to build a mikveh in Marina, Russia, the shul. So the Rabbi sent this emissary at the beginning of the 9 days. He arrived in Moscow and he said, I have clear directives from the Rabbi that you should build a synagogue. You should build a mikveh in the synagogue. So the people locally thought, okay, the Rabbi said such a messenger will eventually do it. He said, no, you have to do it, start right away today. He said, but today it's the 9 days. You're not allowed to build in the 9 days. If the Rabbi said to build now, build now. Sure enough, how did you build in the times of the Soviet Union? They used to stand in the street, see a truck, stop him and ask him, what do you have? Cement? Make a detour. Here are some cigarettes, some vodka, some money. Come to the synagogue, drop off the cement. Somebody else is carrying tiles, bring the tiles to the synagogues, pipes to the synagogue. And that way, within 10 days, they were able to actually make this hole in the ground and open up this mikveh. They were all excited. People started using the mikveh. And 2 days later, opposite the synagogue of Marina, Russia, there's a KGB building. So visitors came in from the KGB. They looked around the synagogue. They found the mikveh. They said, what's going on over here? So they said, it's just a small swimming pool, nothing special. Said, we know exactly what it is. Who gave you permission to open such a ritual bath? 2 hours later, a cement truck came into the synagogue, filled the mikveh with cement. They covered it with a beautiful parquet, and they said, never again do you ever try to open up a mikveh here in the synagogue. People were shocked. What should they do next? So they asked the Rebbe, what was the point of working so hard for 10 days and building a mikveh if the KGB came and closed it 2 days later? And the Rebbe then said to use quiet diplomacy and ask the Soviets, they claim that there's freedom of religion. How could you say freedom of religion if you're closing down the mikveh? So at that time, Gorbachev was actually on a trip, on a tour of Europe. Wherever he went, the Lubavitch network made sure that somebody should ask him, what's going on with the mikveh in Marina, Russia? You claim freedom of religion and you're closing a mikveh. What is this? Whether it was a politician, a journalist, a businessman, everybody was kept on asking this question. And sure enough, he picked up the phone and he called Moscow and he said, I don't know what a mikveh is. I don't know what Marina, Russia is, but please make sure that this mikveh is opened. So the KGB came back to the synagogue and he said, you know what? You have permission. It's a miracle. Something like this never happened, but you have permission to rebuild the mikveh. And the person running the synagogue said, no. We built the mikveh once. You closed it. You are going to open it again. And actually, this was the only mikveh till today that we know that the KGB opened it and built it. And was actually, once they built it, it was beautiful. They had different access to different kind of tiles and material and everything. And that's the mikveh that served the Marina, Russia community for decades. Because of the belief of these Jews here, that doesn't make a difference what. They're going to risk their life to keep Judaism alive. So I was watching these Jews and I was saying, wow, in America, it's so easy to be a Jew. In Europe, it's so easy to be a Jew. And we always look for shortcuts. These people that have it the hardest, they're not looking for any easy way out. They could have a million excuses. Why not to do something? Why not to help somebody else? Why not to go out of their way? All they care is how to help each other and to rebuild some kind of community in the Soviet Union. And I remember the last day before I was leaving the Soviet Union, my farewell was actually supposed to have meant, that's it, I would leave back to the States after meeting these amazing Jews. And of course, we were there to teach them, to help them. But I felt that that's it, I'm going to go back. And what's going to happen to them? And I told them, I promise you one thing, I'm not going to forget about you. I'm going to do whatever I can to try to help you. I really felt their plight, their suffering, their hardships, the disconnection. They had no connection to any Jewish community around the world. And sure enough, when I came back to Russia, I kept in touch with them. I was calling them, sending them packages. Really, I felt that if the minimum I could do, living in the free world and, in the paradise of America, at least help these Jews which are suffering so much. And then I went again back to Russia, a second time, a third time. I got very, very close with these people. I felt like they were my brothers. And sure enough, at a certain point, my mother said, that's it, you're not traveling no more to Russia, to the Soviet Union, unless you get first married. First, you have to get married, and then I'll give you permission to go again. In Yeshivah, there was this joke that I don't need to get married. I'm married, I already found my girlfriend. Her name is Russia. But my mother didn't agree too much with this girlfriend. So she said, first you get married, and then you go back to Russia. So I went out on a date with my future wife. And the first question I asked her, are you ready to go to Russia? And she said, listen, if that's what the Rabbi is going to say, we're ready to go anywhere. I said, okay, so we can get married. So sure enough, after we got married, we wrote to the Rabbi, we were ready to move to Russia right away. And thank God the Rabbi said, no, 1 year, wait, take it easy, get your life together. And I was able to learn in New York for 1 more year. And a year later, actually, the Rabbi sent us to Russia. And this was in 1990. Those that know what the situation in Moscow and the Soviet Union was in the beginning of the 90s, there were lines everywhere, no food. People were really desperation completely on one end. On the other hand, the doors were open and any Jews can leave the Soviet Union. And they used to say at that time that Gorbachev asked his minister of religion, tell me, how many Jews live in Russia, in the Soviet Union? So he said approximately 3 million, 3.5 million. And if we open up the doors, how many Jews do you think are going to leave? He says 5, 6 million. And that was actually the situation. People were just packing their suitcases and trying to get out. And we were helping them, getting ready, teaching them Hebrew, making them a chuppah, a circumcision, making them understand what to expect in Israel. But we felt we were really like in Central Station, just people coming through, meeting them, connecting with them, and then they would leave. The next person coming in, connecting, teaching him, and they would leave. And at a certain point, this was around 92, 93, we felt that everybody was saying there's no more future here. Anti-Semitism was rampant. And that actually our synagogue was burned down by anti-Semites. And people felt that there's no more Jews left in this country. What's the point of building and trying to do something? Whoever wanted to be connected to anything Jewish left the Soviet Union. They went to America, Germany, of course, Israel, Australia. The door were open, and anybody that had any kind of feeling for anything Jewish looked for Judaism elsewhere. Nobody wanted to stay in the Soviet Union. And we were looking around and trying to figure out, so what's next? There are almost no Jews coming to the synagogues. The synagogue is being burned down, anti-Semitic attacks everywhere. So what are we supposed to do? On one hand, the reality outside looks like there's no hope. On the other hand, the Rebbe sent us to Russia to do something for the local Jews. And we knew what the Rebbe had always said, that there are many, many more Jews in the former Soviet Union than anybody could ever imagine. Assimilation, and 80 years of communism made sure that a lot of Jews forgot who they were. So our goal was actually trying to find these Jews that were hidden and hiding and ashamed and afraid to come out and say that they're Jewish. Just to give an idea what it means, afraid of being Jewish, I remember once walking into a taxi and the taxi driver asked me, "Are you Jewish?" I said, "Yeah." "Do I look Jewish?" I said, yeah, you look Jewish. So can you tell me, why do the Jews eat matzah? So I told him, we eat matzah because our forefathers were in Egypt and was very tough and eventually got liberated then. There was no time for the dough to rise. And that's why we eat matzah. And he goes again, but why do we have to eat the matzah? And again, why do we have to eat the matzah? So I said, I explained it to you. He says, but why do we need to put in the blood of the non-Jews in our matzah? And I realized he's Jewish. You're talking about 1992, and he still believes that the Jews are putting in blood in the matzah. So I realized there's tons of misinformation, propaganda against the Jews, anti-Semitism. The Jews themselves are afraid, ashamed of their Jewishness. They're trying not to tell even their own children that they're Jewish, at least those that were left in the Soviet Union. They were hiding their Jewishness as much as possible. So how do we get them, as you say, out of the closet? So the first thing we did at that point, we decided to cover the whole city with huge signs, matzah from Israel. And it was a campaign. We gave out matzah from Israel. Matzah speaks to every Russian Jew. No, we all love the taste of matzah. It brings back great memories of childhood. That's one thing that people always kept, and they never gave it up, whether it was dangerous or not popular, or they had to go to the synagogue, they might get into trouble. They knew that they had to get matzah for Passover, for Pesach. So we thought matzah plus from Israel, plus it's tasty, plus it's free, plus it's food, it's probably going to work. And sure enough, there was a huge line. We were used to lines everywhere, but we weren't used to lines in front of the synagogue. Lines of people trying to get hold of this matzah from Israel. We told them, the donor that gave you this matzah just asked one thing, that we should write down your phone number and your name. And that's how we got to know more people and more people and more people. And slowly we tried to work with these people, telling their children that they have a free summer camp for their children, free education in a Jewish school, programs, humanitarian, cultural, concerts, events, you call it learning Hebrew, learning Jewish music, dance, whatever, anything that will go to connect these people back to their tradition. And thank God, even though everybody was saying that there's no future, that there's no hope, actually our schools started filling up, kindergartens, Jewish university, yeshivot, summer camps, programs, events, and everywhere we just saw thousands and thousands of people coming. I remember, since we are right before Hanukkah, one of the big events that we had was actually Hanukkah in the Kremlin, in the famous hall of the Congress of the Communist Regime, the Kremlevsky Dvorets Syezdov. We decided to have a Hanukkah concert. So we had to get a special permission, but they gave us a special permission for an event for Hanukkah. The Rabbi was actually speaking via satellite from New York, and we advertised that we're going to have this Hanukkah concert. Within 2 hours, all the 6,000 tickets were sold out. But of course, news spread out that the Jews are going to have a Hanukkah concert. So at that time, there was an anti-Semitic organization called Pamyat. And they announced that we're not going to let the Jews step on the holy stones of the Kremlin. We're going to stand there by the entrance and make sure that no Jews will be able to walk into the holy Kremlin. So we didn't really know what to do, but we called the police just in case. And then actually not 6,000 Jews came, but probably 15,000, because people were trying to buy off tickets from people that had bought tickets. So you had like 15,000 Jews out there by the entrance of the Kremlin, and 50, 60 Pamit, anti-Semitic people holding their signs, don't let the Jews walk into the Kremlin. And thank God they wrote in the paper the next day, the police was there to make sure that the Jews won't hurt these anti-Semites. But we were actually kind to let them stay there with their signs, and we celebrated Hanukkah in the Kremlin. So this was one of the things that we made to open up the eyes of the people that you can be Jewish and you can be a proud Jew. We're celebrating in 2 days the 19th of Kislev, the liberation of the Alter Rebbe from Soviet prison, from the Russian regime prison. And the message that he actually gave when he came out was that he was freed in peace. It wasn't a fight. The Alter Rebbe and the future generations, they never fought the Russian regime. Maybe the regime fought them, but they never fought back, because our way of working is actually not to fight and not to go head on. It's actually to show the light of the Torah, the light of Hasidut, the beauty, the truth, and hopefully that is going to change people's minds through happiness, through the right atmosphere. And this is exactly the way the Rebbe taught us when we went out on Shlichut to Russia. It wasn't about going against the Russian regime. It was actually explaining then that we are here to help you. A religious Russian Jew is actually much better for Russia than you can even imagine. And if you're going to give us the opportunity to build schools and kindergartens and the whole infrastructure, the Jews won't leave to Israel. You're losing out by the Jews leaving. The best doctors, the best scientists, the best actors, the best singers, they're all leaving, and you're going to have this brain drain. So instead of fighting the Jews, help the Jews. And slowly but surely, I believe that this message, the message of Hasidut, that is actually, you don't have to fight your enemy, you have to change him around, you have to turn him into your friend. And this is really what Hasidut teaches us about ourselves. We have, some people feel they have an enemy inside of us that is trying to fight us and convince us to do the wrong thing. We don't have to fight him. We have to just tell him, listen, this is wrong, and look at the light, and look what is right. And once you open up his eyes, he's going to look at it, he's going to look at it completely different. And this has been our modus operandi from day one, telling, whether it was Gorbachev and then Yeltsin and the mayor of Moscow, that more you're going to give the Jews, more the Jews are going to stay, you're going to get back. And slowly, Baruch Hashem, we opened, the first 10 years, our goal was actually to open educational institutions, schools, and we did that in every possible city throughout the former Soviet Union. And then this was 1991, 92, till the year 2000. In the year 2000, we felt it's time to rebuild the Jewish communities. That's when we built synagogues, community centers, centers for community in every city to stand around it. And was sending our rabbis to the cities, finding local leaders, presidents, chairmen for the communities, and slowly these communities actually blossomed above any expectations. We didn't believe how much energy, excitement, and I would say really care for each other was in these communities. And today I can say, my personal opinion, that the Russian Jewish community is one of the most amazing communities, I believe the most amazing community around the world. People caring for each other, people helping each other, loving each other, united. It's an amazing united community. We have hundreds of communities throughout the Soviet Union. So you have Russia and Ukraine fighting, but in the Jewish community, it's friendship, we are brothers, we help each other. All these issues really, they don't bother us. We are an amazing, united community. All these 100 communities helping each other, caring, sharing, and all of that. And this was the next 10 years, was really rebuilding what the communist regime destroyed, was getting back synagogues that were taken away and turned into warehouses, theaters, factories, you name it, and rebuilding them as Jewish communities. And today, Baruch Hashem, practically in every city, you have a community with, of course, a mikveh, a school, a kindergarten, humanitarian programs, cultural programs, educational. Thank God, whatever is needed for a Jew to live a comfortable life in a city, it's there. And if once there was a time that the Israeli government used to attack us and say, what are you doing? Because of you, Jews are not going to Israel. And we used to tell them, these Jews are so disconnected, they'll never think of Israel. Today, actually, they realize that what we are doing is helping Israel. It's giving an identity to these Jews, which are completely, sadly disconnected, and bringing them back to the Jewish people. So this was the next 10 years. Around 10 years ago, we decided now it's time to move on. And the next project that we undertook was actually connecting the young people. And we invested a lot of efforts, time, thought, how to get these young people today to be connected to the Jewish community. And to make a long story short, we built youth clubs, which today are very, very popular. Any young boy and girl that wants to be, have a good life, he knows that he has to come to the synagogue. They learn, they do voluntary work, they meet, they have all kinds of events. But one of the most exciting things is once a year, we take them on a trip, and they all together from all the different cities travel somewhere. So just a few weeks ago, we went actually to Dubai. In the past, we went to France, Italy, you name it, Austria, and many different places. Next year, we're going to go to Morocco. And this has brought thousands and thousands and thousands of young people to reconnect to their history, tradition, and brought actually the whole family back together. So this was more or less what we did for the last 30 years in a nutshell, just to give you a little idea. And the real question was, what is next? So if we can say, there's a silver lining to everything, COVID actually was a wake-up call for each one of us, that it's not only about bringing Jews to the community and bringing Jews to the synagogue and bringing kids to the school, it's actually about reaching the Jews where they are at home. And throughout the whole last 2 years, we've been sending packages for Shabbat, for the holidays, to tens of thousands of Jews to their homes, whether it's a whole Seder to people's homes, or Rosh Hashanah, the whole package, or on Chanukah, or on Purim, or on Sukkot, on Shavuot, or on Shabbat, and people at home started celebrating together with their friends, family, close people, celebrating their Jewishness at home, putting up a mezuzah in their home, having Jewish books in their home. And just to give an idea what it means, I'll just share with you one small story. There was a lady in Perm, which is a city here in Russia, who had a sister that was always completely against anything Jewish. She didn't want to hear anything about the Jewish community. And the rabbi never understood. One sister is completely involved and the other one is completely disconnected. So what's the story? He never knew, but he knew that there's a sister. And last year before Passover, he got these special packages from Moscow, which had the whole Seder in it. Food and matzah and wine and you name it, was all there, beautifully packaged. And the rabbi said, you know what? He gave this lady a package and said, and this package Moscow sent specially for your sister. Please give it to her. Anyway, the matzah was delivered, and this lady, not the matzah, the whole package, a beautiful package for the Seder, and this lady took it and she hid it somewhere in her house. Sure enough, her husband, which is the army general, and always was against anything Jewish that she should ever speak about her Jewishness, and that's why she was so scared, found this package. And once he saw it, he said, wow, if this is what the Jewish community is all about, we're going to have a Seder tonight. And from having a Seder, the lady came to the synagogue, their son went to a summer camp, and now he's enrolled in the Jewish school. So you have these Jews who are still so far away from anything, but these packages is what had brought them back, home. I'll share with you a different story. Last year on Chanukah, we decided to use all these influential people to send out a message about Chanukah. So we asked them that they should light the Chanukah candles and put it on their Facebook or whatever, on their page. And this way other people are going to see that you can celebrate Chanukah. So one of the most famous YouTube channels here in Russia is actually run by somebody Jewish, but completely disconnected from her Jewishness. Her Jewishness is that her grandmother was Jewish. Her father was not, her grandfather was not, but her grandmother was Jewish, but she never had anything to do with the community. Anyways, I call her up and ask her, can you please do me one favor? I'm going to send you a menorah, and if you can please light it. I explained to her what's the important message of Hanukkah, giving, light when there's darkness, and today in such a dark time. If you're going to light your menorah and add some light and put it on your page, people are going to hear about Hanukkah, and it's going to bring them some moral support. So she said, actually, I would have never done it, but I'm going to do it. You know why? Because my aunt actually lives in Novosibirsk, and she got this Hanukkah package from the community, and she was so excited that the community in such time thought of her, cared for her, and sent her this beautiful package with food, donuts, latkes, and the Chanukiah, and games for their kids, and the dreidel, and Chanuki gelt, and chocolate. If this is what the community actually did for my aunt, I'm going to light the Hanukkah menorah and put it on my YouTube channel. So today, I don't know if any of you heard, there's one of the most famous rappers here in Russia. His name is Morgenstern, and he's like as crazy as you can go. What is he talking about these days? About what he calls the Rabbi. He speaks about the Rabbi, and he speaks about the lessons of the Rabbi. Why? Because he was actually in a complete state of depression. He didn't want to continue living. He found out about the Rebbe, and today, wherever he speaks about this book that he got from the Rabbi, a book that the Rebbe wrote, telling him that his life is all about helping others, not only caring for yourself. So this is the story in a nutshell. Russia has surely changed, and as I said before, we have here today probably a better life here because of an amazing community, but also we have kosher restaurants, kosher stores. We have a Jewish museum, which is probably one of the nicest Jewish museums around the world. President Putin came to visit this museum already 6 times. So you could imagine it cannot be just a small room. It's an amazing museum. And of course, I can tell you millions of stories of what happened throughout all these years. But in a nutshell, it's actually, this is the message of Hanukkah, and this is the message of the 19th of Kislev, that not only we will prevail, but these hardships make us stronger. These hardships bring out the best, and they show us miracles. Hanukkah, we would have never seen this miracle if, they wouldn't have attacked us, and they wouldn't have tried to make sure that the menorah should never be lit in the Holy Temple ever again. But the Jews decided they're not going to give up. They're going to light the menorah, even though there was no chance for it to light 8 days. That nevertheless did it because they believed in miracles. If you believe in miracles, you get miracles. I believe the Russian Jews, first of all, deserve all these miracles that we are seeing today, but they believed in miracles. They never gave up. They never gave up the Jewishness. It wasn't easy to have the name Ivrei, Jew, written on your passport or your birth certificate, but people didn't change that. To have a Jewish family wasn't easy. It was hard to get a job, hard to get into university, hard to even survive because of all the anti-Semitism coming from the top and the propaganda that was in this country. But the Jews held fast and showed that if you don't give up, at the end, we're going to show them the right way. So today, just to end off, actually, what's amazing that the Russian Jewish community is helping actually other communities around the world. Just to give a small example, today the community in Iran is being helped by the Russian Jewish community. There are not too many other communities that can help them, but today we're able to send them a lot of support, help, teachers, and they come to Moscow to visit. And as long as they're going to be Jews there, we're going to try to help them. Thanks to the Russian government, all the holy places in Syria are today being preserved: synagogue, cemetery, museum, and a lot of good things are happening in Israel also. As Bibi Netanyahu always says, what Russia has done for Israel, it's historical. Nobody could even believe and dream how much support Russia has actually given Israel. And what they write in the papers, he himself says, it's what they write in the papers. He knows firsthand how much Russia has done for the well-being of Israel, for the safety of Israel. And again, the stories could go on. And I think it's all in the zchut. It's all thanks to these Jews that gave up their comfort in order to keep Judaism alive in the tough times. So as we always say, if you sow with tears, you're going to see the fruits with happiness. Today, finally, Russian Jews, I think first time ever, are actually proud to be Jewish. They walk in the streets with their heads high, became cool to be Jewish, Actually, a lot of non-Jews want to become Jewish, but that's a story by itself. And we believe it's only the beginning. And our goal is actually, hopefully, to reach out to every single Russian Jew, find them, connect them, and be there to help him and to make him feel excited about being Jewish. I remember when I first came to Russia, Soviet Union, people asked me, what's your mission? I said, enough of the suffering for being Jewish. I used to ask people, are you Jewish? And if they were, they said, yes, sadly, I was born a Jew. Today, when I go around, whether it's in the streets, events, on planes, and ask people, excuse me, are you Jewish? If they're not, they said, "Сожалению, нет," sadly not. So if today non-Jews say, sadly, we are upset that we're not Jewish, I think that things have actually changed. And this is the miracle that we sing today. The Rabbi believed in this. In the toughest time, he said, things are going to change in Russia. Nobody believed at that time that it's actually possible. People used to think that it's fantasizing, hoping, dreaming, but all these dreams became reality today. So I'm sure that a lot of you probably feel that this all was one big propaganda, but it's not. And come to visit us. As I said before, you can go to any city in the former Soviet Union, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, Moldova, anywhere, and you'll see a thriving Jewish community.
Thank you, Rabbi Lazar. My name is Akiva Balter. I'm from Toronto. Rabbi Chaim, if you want to thank Rabbi Lazar first, you introduced him, you should be the first one to thank him. So go ahead.
Thank you very, very much. That was amazing and eye-opening. Jewish life is thriving there. I say I was there and I can testify. Rabbi Lazar played it down at the beginning. He mentioned that it's not an exaggeration. I couldn't believe. We did go to the museum that he spoke about, and it was just like another room, another room, another room. And I wish I had so much more time to spend. When we were there for Shabbos, Friday night in the shul, 300 or 400 people. There was a group of students from other cities. I think a few dozen students. They were there for some kind of Shabbaton, and they took part in the Shabbos activities. Rabbi Lazar had Sheva brachas for his daughter and son-in-law, but he had to go away for 5 or 10 minutes to be able to welcome the students and speak to them. I left. I said, I'd love to come back sometime and spend more time. Is it okay if we ask a few questions?
With pleasure. If I get disconnected, I'm going to reconnect. It's my battery that is going dead, but let's hope it's going to last till the end.
Okay, thanks.
The miracle of Hanukkah.
I do want to remind everyone that, the doesn't go out. I do remind everyone that right now in Moscow, it's a quarter to midnight.
A quarter to one.
Quarter to one? I'm sorry. And Rabbi Lazar had a busy night till now, and he told me he has an early morning. I guess if you have any, the question is, what advice would you give for people, Jewish people coming from the US who would like to visit?
So I remember actually Mrs. Goldman spoke before. I remember when she came to visit, and together with the Ort, if I'm not mistaken. And I think anybody that came here believes that there are bears in the street before he comes, and it's so difficult. It's actually very easy. If anybody needs a visa, we'll help you get a visa. Getting into Russia today, even with Corona, it's very easy. And the rest of the trip, you don't have to worry about. We'll take care of you. You have enough kosher food here to feel satisfied. And I think it's important actually to show ourselves and the world how Jewish people are connected. It's amazing. No other people have this connection, no matter where a Jew is from and where he goes and where he's coming, they feel a special connection. And anytime we have visitors coming from anywhere in the world, for the local people, here, big support. So I think that visiting local people you're going to hear, whether it's going to be students, people, anyone. So please come. Maybe Rabbi Kosofsky can arrange a trip, and we'll be glad to host you.
Thank you. I want to point out that we had, when I went for the wedding, I had at least 2 people here who were begging me, who speak Russian, come from the former Soviet Union, who were begging me to take them along as my guests. They're very eager to come. Can you give just a couple minutes of a message in Russian to our members here who speak Russian?
Добрый вечер. Я очень рад вас приветствовать и видеть вас. Я уже раньше на экране видел пару лиц таких наших. И я, как я уже говорил, я думаю, что российские евреи или русскоязычные евреи, они самые лучшие, самые сильные, уверенные, которые есть на свете. Почему? Может быть, это из-за страдания, может быть, это из-за веры, которую передали из поколения в поколение. Но факт, несмотря на все трудности, никогда они не искали какой-то компромисс или выход из положения. То, что, слава Богу, живете в свободной стране, это не значит, что сегодня не нужно, как раньше, делать что-то больше, чем обычно, прыгнуть выше. То, что остальные делают что-то, это прекрасно для них. А для нас это мало. Поэтому, наоборот, вы являетесь символом веры, символом преданности. И нужно показать, что, наоборот, именно русские евреи, те, которые могут показать остальным, как нужно быть связано с традицией, с религией. И не искать какой-то компромисс. В Америке такая обстановка, что всегда человек ищет там комфорт, чтобы было удобно, и чтобы найти какой-то там легкий путь. А для нас легкий путь – это прекрасно, когда мы говорим, не знаю, там, о бизнесе или о других делах. А когда мы говорим о Боге, о религии, это наша жизнь, это кто мы есть. И здесь искать компромиссов – это не наш вариант. Как раз Ханука учит нас, что наши предки, почему они увидели такое чудо? Потому что они не были готовы на компромисс. 19-го Кислева, день освобождения Альтер-Ребе, то же самое. Он мог сказать, ну, трудно, поэтому нужно опускать руки. Это не наш подход. Мы верим до конца. Человек, который верит до конца, увидит чудеса во всех его делах. Поэтому это то, что я желаю вам наступающим праздником. Чуть-чуть света выгоняет много тьма. Поэтому не нужно бояться, нужно быть уверенным, что с Божьей помощью победа за нами, и в скорое время мы уже пойдем навстречу Машиаха.
Большое спасибо. Барух Хашем.
Okay, thank you very, very much. I'll say молодец, job well done, and l'chaim for Yutzis Kislev and for Hanukkah. A huge yasher koyach.
Thank you. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Михаил, спасибо, Rabbi.
Всего вам доброго, удачи.
Спасибо, вам тоже.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rabbi Lazar. This is not the end of our program. We will let him go. It's late for him.
I appreciate letting me go.
Okay, and we will continue with next part of our program is a video that was prepared and shown a few weeks ago at the International Conference of Shluchim. This is the story of one Shliach in one city in Russia that Rabbi Lazar helped place.
שליחס, שלוחים, וחלמתי להיות שליח. ולכן, כשהייתי בשידוכים עם אשתי, אמרתי לה שאני מייעד את עצמי להיות שליח, והיא אמרה לי משפט אחד, אני מוכנה ללכת איתך לכל מקום לשליחס, חוץ מרוסיה. והתחתנו, והתחלנו לחפש מקום לשליחס. בין ההצעות שקיבלנו היה להיפגש עם הרב הראשי לרוסיה, הרב ברל לזר.
Told them there's actually a big city, the capital of Siberia, Novosibirsk, and what do you think about it? So his first reaction was, it's not for him, it's not for his wife, too far, too cold, too complicated, no community.
ואז הוא הציע לנו רעיון, הוא אמר, תקשיבו, אני מציע שתיסעו למקום, תהיו שמה, ואז תגידו את הלא.
The Rebbe always told people, Leisanyan, to look into it. So look into it. Who knows, maybe actually it's going to excite you.
הגענו לנובוסיבירסק, ורק כשהגענו לפה הבנו מה זה סיביר, היה כפור של 30 מינוס, ואז שאלתי איפה נמצא בית כנסת, שזה המקום הראשון שרציתי לראות. מה שאני רואה, בניין שהוא מת ליפול, מקום משכנם של כל ההומלסים של נובוסיבירסק, ושירותים בדלי בחוץ. זה כל היהדות של נובוסיבירסק, עיר שלישית בגודלה ברוסיה. הגיע פורים, חגגנו, הזמנו כמה יהודים שאפשר, ואז יומיים לפני שאני טס בחזרה, החלטתי להגיע לבית כנסת, להתפלל. אני פותח את דלתות בית הכנסת, חשכו עיניי, פוגרום בבית כנסת. סידורים על הרצפה, חומשים, והדבר שהכי כאב זה לראות ספר תורה זרוק על הרצפה. כמובן שהריאקציה שהייתה לי זה דמעות בעיניים.
Sure enough, I get a call. It was the middle of the night, and he was frantic. We always say that if there's going to be any anti-Semitism, we're going to be the first ones to make sure that this gets the attention from the government.
כי אחרת השלטונות המקומיים לא יעשו שום דבר אם לא יהיה רעש תקשורתי.
Open up the shul and show it to them. That's it. That's all I asked him.
Lazar said, call the news and get them in and have them take pictures.
כעבור שעה הגעתי, בחוץ כבר מחכים כלי תקשורת. איך שהגעתי ישר הם התנפלו עליי, הכניסו אותי פנימה לתוך הבית כנסת עם הפוגרום, הצמידו לי מיקרופונים, מצלמות טלוויזיה, מסיבת עיתונאים מאולתרת. השאלה הראשונה ששאלו אותי, האם אני הרב של נובוסיבירסק?
כמה זמן אתה בנובוסיבירסק? ובגלל מה אתה בו?
הסיטואציה הייתה נראה לי סוג של חלום, לא הבנתי מה לי, בחור בן 24, במדינה זרה, ללא שפה, ואני בעצם מייצג פה את כל הקהילה היהודית, ברצוני או שלא ברצוני, ולתת איזשהו מענה לסיטואציה הקשה שבעצם כל הקהילה היהודית נמצאת בה. וחשבתי לעצמי באותו שנייה, אם אני לא הרב של נובוסיבירסק, אז מה בעצם אני עושה פה? ועניתי, כן, אני הרב של נובוסיבירסק. אני לא נמצא פה הרבה זמן, אני נמצא פה תקופה קצרה, על מנת להיות רב ליהודים פה בנובוסיביר, שלא היה כאן רב. והמטרה היא להיות רב בבית הכנסת, שיהודים יבואו ויתפללו וילמדו תורה כמו שצריך. ואז שאלו אותי, מה התוכניות שלכם? אמרתי להם, אצל יהודים יש את האמרה הידועה, כאשר יענו אותו כן יפרוץ. לאנשים האחראים שבעירייה ובכל מקום, שבאמת יעשו כל מה שביכולתם, שלא יקרה עוד פעם כזה דבר, כי דבר כזה שקורה בעיר זה דבר מאוד מאוד קשה ומאוד מאוד גרוע. ובאמת האפשרות היחידה שאפשר לעשות את זה, שבאמת סוף כל סוף יהיה מקום שאפשר לבנות בית כנסת גדול, ושם יהיה ביטחון כמו שצריך, ולא כמו שהיה כאן.
He probably didn't even realize what he was saying. That was the story, that a new rabbi came to town just a week ago, and here's a pogrom. The day after Purim, Jewish holiday, pogrom, new rabbi. And of course the story went viral, was all over the news, and was getting coverage from every possible newspaper.
התחילו להתקשר אליי מהארץ, כלי תקשורת, רדיו, עיתונאים, היה רעש תקשורתי אדיר.
And of course we called people in the government and we said, listen, this is what's going on, something has to change.
הגעתי לארץ, חברים, ידידים, משפחה, כולם מתקשרים אליי, מברכים אותי על השליחות, מקום השליחות החדשה. אני ואשתי לא יודעים איך לאכול את הדבר הזה, לא הודענו לאף אחד, כי מבחינתנו זה היה פשוט טיול בסיביר. ככה עברו שבועיים, 3, חודש, חודשיים, ואז ערב אחד אני מתיישב עם אשתי סביב השולחן, ואני אומר לה, ואנחנו מדברים ואומרים, תקשיבי, כל העולם כולו החליט ויודע שאנחנו השלוחים בנובוסיבירסק, חוץ מאיתנו.
he realized that the words that he said, I'm the rabbi here in the synagogue, I'm the rabbi here in the city, wasn't just, by chance. This was what the Rabbi was telling him, that this is your shlichus. It's difficult, but that's what we're here for. If it would be easy, many other people would be doing it.
וככה החלטנו שאנחנו יוצאים לשליחות בנובוסיבירסק.
When I look back at our own life and our own shlichus, yes, there were days it wasn't easy. We had pogroms in Moscow, building burned down, firebombed, and people getting attacked. There was a time there was no food and no education for the children, actually no nothing.
Maybe connection with this holiday, they wanted to ruin our holiday. We're going to celebrate anyways.
And you think today, these anti-Semites who burned down the shul, they gave us the opportunity to build something much bigger.
מעולם, בחיים לא הייתי מגיע לנובוסיבירסק, חד משמעי. בדרך כלל, פוגרומים הבריחו את יהודים והשפילו יהודים. ובמקרה שלנו, הפוגרום הביא את היהדות והביא גאווה לעם היהודי.
He moved there because of these difficulties. Maybe sometimes these challenges is what wakes us up and says, you know what, if there are people that are fighting us, people that don't want us here, that shows how important it is for us to be here. Whether it's an anti-Semite or a different difficult situation, it's actually a wake-up call to tell us how important is our work, how vital it is for us to be there, to stay there.
Und eine von den Simonen ist wissen, dass es ein Schliach ist, bis hat auf drauf auf Minis wie Kuvi. Also die, was darf ihm helfen und stellen ihm Stellen. Und die, was darf ihm jede sein verkehrt, werden ihm obdürfen. Is auch das Guf ist ein Kocher, der Yeshivah prüft sich auf allerlei Wegen. Efter wird können beempfehlen, soll nicht mit Chaim sein spezieller Schliach ist, was hat in Leben Azeh. Und bis selbst dem Memes wie das ist, das ist ein Schliach, es nicht Paul werden für die, was werden im Ort. Und sehen, die Stadt soll werden eine koschere jüdische Stadt und der Besa Knesset soll werden eine koschere Schule. Und der Besa Mede soll dort lernen, Teire bei ihrer Schamayim, wo demot wird der Eberster kommen und wird sagen, a Sheikh in Ito. Afal Piva, das in der Zeit von Golus, und zusammen mit den Ebersten gehen der Chechet alle Brochis und Hatzlochis, aber wird gebencht, bebonne Chayu Mezene, und die alle Sachen seien in der Nähe von Revicho, und wir können mäßig sein in Limo der Teire, Vekie mit Zveseho, mit der Charchovo, Besimcho, Betuv Levov. Bachar.
תוך כמה חודשים הרגשנו כמה החום היהודי, האור שאנחנו מביאים לעיר, באמת מאיר את היהודים, את הנשמות שלהם. מאות יהודים התחילו להגיע לקהילה, התחלנו בפעילות ענפה, שבתות, תפילות. אותם אלו פורים שעשו את הפוגרום, אם הם היו יודעים מה התוצאה של הפוגרום שהם עשו אז, הם בטוח היו חושבים פעמיים.
You'll pay today $1 million to any of the shluchim that are in Siberia. And today we have, Baruch Hashem, many cities where there are shluchim. You'll pay them the world, they're not going to leave their community. They love it, the people love them. No question that if without the Shliach, this would have never happened. So could you imagine a rabbi all of a sudden saying, it's difficult, but my children are here, what, I'm going to leave? These are my brothers, these are my best friends. And that's what the shluchim really feel. They come to the community, they become part of the community.
אחד השיאים של השליחות שלנו היה לפני שנתיים, כאשר חגגנו את החתונה של הבת שלנו פה בנובוסיבירסק, עם למעלה מ-500 מוזמנים. בזמן החופה, המחשבות שעברו לי בראש, זה אותם רגעים שהיינו בשדה תעופה עם הבת שלי, בת חצי שנה על הידיים, מגיעים הביתה, המעלית לא עובדת, וככה אני סוחב את הבת שלי עם המזוודות לקומה התשיעית. ולא חלמתי אז שהחתונה של הבת שלי כעבור 20 שנה, נחגוג אותה בנובוסיבירסק.
There's no such a word impossible in the Rebbe's dictionary. And the Rebbe taught us by example. The Rebbe gives us the keiches, the Rebbe gives us the broches, and the Rebbe is the one actually that once you have the bitochen that it's going to be good, it's going to be good. Once you believe that it's not me doing it, it's not because I'm so strong, so smart, so talented. No, it's not me. It's the Shliach, is the one that sent you, that gives you the keiches, opportunities, and the broches to succeed. And when you see the success time and again, you don't need to believe. You just see it, and it's actually a fact.
Wow.
Hey, thank you, Rabbi Kosofsky. This was amazing. I just want to share very, very quickly as we get ready for Hanukkah, a few of the events that we're going to be having at LYA, beginning on Sunday evening, following the menorah lighting at the JCC. There will be a grand menorah parade. So that's our first event. So on Monday at 3:10 will be our grand menorah lighting, and downtown Springfield with Mayor Sarno, students of LYA at 3:10. Menorah lighting at 3:10. On Wednesday, December 1st, there will be a catered dinner and comedy night at LYA. Please sign up at 6:30 p.m. We continue with Thursday, a menorah lighting on the green with a gelt drop. This is a Hanukkah gelt being thrown from a fire truck with menorah lighting there that's Thursday, December 2nd at 5 p.m. Next Friday, Taste of Hanukkah. Please sign up. We are drive up, pick up at LYA, fresh challah, dips, chicken soup, latkes, Hanukkah cookies. Please sign up. And then finally, on Sunday, December 5th at 6 p.m., there will be a fire on ice and menorah lighting at the Longmeadow shops outside Delaney's, and there'll be entertainment, music, a lot of stuff happening in Hanukkah. So please look out for the mail, email, and sign up, and hope to see you all then.
Thank you, Rabbi Wolf. And now at the conclusion, we do have to give a very big thank you to Akiva Balter, who is sitting in Toronto and who is the producer of this wonderful program. Put many hours of planning and organizing and assisting so that it should be seamless and successful, which it was. Akiva and Gam Zoom Litova, a Zoom casting company. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reb Chaim, if I may. And Reb Noach, nice to see you too. L'chaim, first of all, I know that to be a Kosofsky over the last year, you've had simchas and other events. You're having a yard site. So l'chaim to you and your family. Have a freilich in Hanukkah and a good yontiv of Yutes Kislev. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of LYA. It means a lot to me. Keeps me connected. And it's just ironic, if I may share a thought with you, as I was hearing Rabbi Lazar speak, how the Rebbe's reach, obviously born in Russia, went around the world, and ultimately, because we know we're in the time of the Geula, what he really repaired was back home. Vishavti b'sholem el beisavi. He returned to his father's home, to his land, and it's b'sholem, and it's now completely welcoming to Jews. So the land that kicked him out is now welcoming him back.
I want to give a special thanks to my brother, Rabbi Chaim Kosofsky, for organizing tonight's event, and especially for securing Rabbi Berel Lazar. Is definitely his connection and friendship that goes back 40, 50 years that he was able to get Rabbi Lazar to speak exclusively to our community. So big yasher koyach to Rabbi Chaim Kosofsky.
Thank you. We're going to finish. You wanted to introduce the 8th day. This is a Hanukkah song where each person is responsible, you would say, to be a menorah to their surroundings.
No fighter plane, no battleship can crush what's pure and sweet. It's that last drop of oil, it just won't see defeat. It keeps our little hub in flame and dancing to the beat. It's that last drop of oil, we'll take it to the street. And we'll blow smoke in the face of darkness, set fires to burn up the night. Tell and retell all your stories, be a miracle of light. Blow smoke in the face of darkness, set fires to burn up the night. Tell and retell all your stories, be a miracle of light. Canto esti nom, no canto nicht mosom. Giboire miyad chaloshim, Rabbi miyad. I'll be a nest, I'll be a bright light. I'll be a miracle, I'll be a miracle of light. I'll be a nest, I'll be a bright light. I'll be a miracle, I'll be a miracle of light. Crushed like an olive, let your oil flow. When there's nothing left, your true colors show. So reach deep down and grab that spark. Ain't you tired of living in the dark? Show me, can I show you the light? Show me, can I show you the light? We'll blow smoke in the face of darkness, set fires to burn up the night. Tell and retell all your stories, be a miracle of light. Blow smoke in the face of darkness, set fires to burn up the night. Tell and retell all your stories, be a miracle of light. Canto esti nom, no canto nicht mosom. Giboire miyad chaloshim, Rabbi miyad. I'll be a nest, I'll be a bright light. I'll be a miracle, I'll be a miracle of light. I'll be a nest, I'll be a bright light. I'll be a miracle, I'll be a miracle of light. I'll be a nest, I'll be a nest, I'll be a nest. A bright light, I'll be a miracle, I'll be a miracle of light. I'll be a nest, I'll be a bright light. I'll be a miracle, I'll be a miracle of light. I'll be a nest, I'll be a nest, I'll be a nest, I'll be a nest. I'll be a bright light, I'll be a miracle, I'll be a miracle of light. I'll be a nest, I'll be a bright light, I'll be a miracle, I'll be a miracle of light. I'll be a nest, I'll be a miracle, miracle of light. I'll be a nest.
Good evening, everyone. Lila Tov from Toronto, Canada. You got an experience from all over the world. We had Russian, American, Canadian, but ultimately we had a great Jewish experience. We all shared in this together. I wish you all a happy and a lichtike Hanukkah. It should bright up your life. It should bring you a lot of brachot and blessings, good tidings, health and wealth to all of you in all your life. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Akiva Balter. Good night from Toronto. On behalf of LYA to take this opportunity to thank Rabbi Noach Kosofsky, Rabbi Chaim Kosofsky, Susan Goldman, Rabbi Berel Lazar, Rabbi Wolf for giving us what's coming up on Hanukkah. And I'd like to thank our associate producer who's pushing some buttons in Israel by the name of Yaeli. She did a terrific job, and it is in the middle of the night for her too. Thank you so much. Take care. There will be a recording and the link's available. If you contact LYA, they will give it to you. Take care. Laila Tov. Good night.